It all began during COVID, but just before COVID, when like I really, I had this crazy dream. I wanted to bring my car to Japan and do this whole video vlogging, exploring nature, talk about, you know, mental health and meditation and that kind of stuff. I got hit really hard, like some really bad things happened. In a nutshell, I refused to take the thing, and I lost my job. I sold my car because I moved out of my apartment, which was perfectly located right next to my work, and my health really quickly degraded. I had COVID and I ended up with long COVID symptoms, which were quite severe. And I haven't even discussed it openly. I've never really talked about it because it's quite a sensitive subject. But long COVID is pretty bad, guys. I mean, if it doesn't your life, it slowly degrades you completely. It takes away all of your energy. Different levels of severity to different people. If I didn't take the serious health precautions and processes in that period of time of having long COVID, I think my life would have. I had no energy. I couldn't sleep. I had headaches all day for years. And in that time, that's when I was preparing to move to Japan, even though I had lost my job and the economy was really, really bad in New Zealand because they did the whole lockdown. They locked everything up. They made it very difficult for people to work or move around, even just travel in your car. There were all these restrictions. But fortunately, through time, I managed to kind of study a little bit of Nihongo. I had some friends who were Japanese, and they taught me a little bit about the culture and the language. This was in New Zealand, and I ended up selling my later then car, which was this really cool MR2, this modified Toyota MR2. I loved that car, but I had to sell it, and I sold it on a very rapid schedule because I was trying to get to Japan before a certain time. It was before November of last year. So I sold that car. I saved some money from the job that I didn't like working in. And I came originally on a working holiday visa. And then I later transformed that into the work visa through the support of a company that employed me here. And the reason why I wanted to come to Japan is because Japan is truly a multifaceted culture with a lot of history, a lot of uniqueness and complexity, which is nourishing for the simple-minded young man or woman growing up in the world. They want something that's puzzling, difficult, interesting, challenging. And Japan is that place. Japan is not only aesthetically pleasing and convenient at times, but socially, intellectually, psychically, spiritually, it's challenging. It's pressurizing. It can actually form you positively if you really look at it. Many people come to Japan because they are deeply inspired by the spirit of, Shokunin Waza or Budo, Bushido, Bukyo, Buddhism, or anime, or different types of cultural things here. It's the depth of spirit and the unique crafted disciplines that exist here that really brought me here and brought many people here. People, they come here because whether they're conscious or subconsciously aware of it, it actually helps them to grow, right? It helps them to, nourish their mind, nourish their ability, even though it might be highly competitive or highly difficult. But a lot of the time you hear about stuff, social media and all this stuff, and all these different people and different gaijins and different Japanese people talking about this and that, and in some sense they make Japan to be almost like this impossible place, like this place where like yes, it's convenient, but you're in different ways, you'll overwork yourself, the society will be cold to you, this and that will happen. But the reality actually is there's a lot of opportunity here if you know where to look, and if you're sincere in your spirit, you can find it here. Japan has a variety of unique disciplines, the small things, like you take any little product or object or process or digital process or manufacturing process or spiritual process, and the uniqueness about Japan is that they have kaizen and monotsukuri or something. They have these different cultural concepts, right? Like the idea that you have to craft something, you have to work as a team, you have to deeply analyze and care for the process of things, just the little process of constantly refining until something becomes really good, really perfected, or highly functional, highly efficient, useful, profitable, whatever. I would personally say that more people, especially entrepreneurs from around the world, should come to Japan, spend 5-10 years learning the language, understanding the culture, integrating with the people, and then pour money into different networking and cross-cultural support systems, as well as to revive some of the traditional culture or some of the traditional regions of Japan, as well as creating more of a incentive for Japanese people to also work with wealthy and well-established international companies, because that's something that's not really discussed about, right? Is that there's a lot of money to be made in the world, right? Like when you look outside of Japan, the salary here is not so great. So much potential for Japanese talent to be effectively collaborating with foreign talent and fusing the two, making that juice, making that cream, supporting the family, right? Building new things, bringing that Japanese technology to the rest of the world, you know what I mean? That's something that's not discussed about, because a lot of things, the atmosphere of Japan is a lot about importing. Like they imported Buddhism from India some time ago. The Koreans, they brought, the Chinese and the Koreans, they brought sweet potato here. The Yayoi people, they brought pottery and tea ceremonies and different forms of, temple building or art, or different aspects and components of the language. You had the Dutch that brought this and that. You had the Americans that brought in this and that. Japan is a unique country because it's it's actually a fusion of cultures and things and people. Nothing is purely Japanese anymore, and I'll explain to you exactly why, okay? The true Japanese are long ago, okay? This was the age of the gods. This was when you have these stories in the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki, and it parallels with ancient, books and other cultures too, when the gods descended, right? They intermingled with the peoples of Earth, and they created these lineages. The same story goes on with Japan, right? You have Okami Amaterasu, you have Okami Rimigi no Mikoto, the grandson of Amaterasu, who came down. There's a lot of depth to these stories, so I'm just brushing over really quick, really simple, so I apologize, but Her grandson descends down mountain in Kyushu, Mount Takachi, or Mount Takachiho, I think, in Kyushu, right? Descends down, and there are parallels to these stories. So, and there's this one story where it's just him descending down. There's another story where he descends down beings who would support him on his mission to pacify the earth of chaos. Terasu's son initially tried to do this, or refused, or she sent another son, and then he did something wrong. He died the third time, right? Through his version of the story, having a family with a mountain woman who is daughter of a mountain kami, right? Ultimately, the three sons that were born and all of the different interactions that these sons had. With different earthly aspects of the earthly world, diluted that pure genealogy into the diversity of time and history. There's a fusion, right? The heaven, the earth, the people, China, Korea, the Pukans, the Ainu. Then you had people that were already in Japan, in small settlements all across the place. The Jomon period, the Yamato people, the people of the mountains, the people of the earth, the Nihon Shoki and the Kochiki. There's depth. It's so profound, deep, archaic, and mysterious. The truth is, there's something in the air, there's something in the energy fields of this land. There's certain places you go in Japan, you feel it. It feels like this energy, right? The energy of the mountains, the energy of the earth, the spring waters, the roads, the way that the sun hits you. It's different here. This sort of mystic spirit of the land of Wa, harmony, right? Japan is actually a Dutch word, right? That's actually a Dutch word, Japon. European words they use like Japan, Japan, Zipon, these weird European words. But actually a long time ago, they called Kitsushima, and Akitsushima was the land of the Dragonfly Islands. The Emperor Jimmu, which was the descendant of one of the sons of Ninigi no Mikoto. Jimmu, after he fought and pacified the chiefs of the land, he had come to a certain mountain. I think it was somewhere in Nara, or somewhere in that region. Supposedly, he looked out and he saw that in the distance, islands all interconnecting, forming dragonflies. Supposedly, he had named this place poetically Akitsushima, which is a beautiful name, right? Most people don't know that, right? Another word that goes, another name for Japan, Nakatsukun, like the middle land of winds. I don't know the full name, but it's something like Ashiohara no Nakatsukun. Something like the field of the middle lands of plentiful airs, right? While they believed that like there was two major regions. You had Tama Magahara, which was the heavens, right? The heavens where all the gods and the kami resided, out in space, the multi-dimensions, right? Then you have the land of Yomi, which was the underworld, which is the land of the spirits, right? The land of the dead. Parallels, right? Of both the ancient stories and the modern day metaphysical perspectives that supposedly Japan was a place long ago that was being planned or formed or magically influenced by the gods, right? For this time, which now is a time of integration. This is a completely different age, right? This age that we live in is different. It's not like the past where people were constantly fighting and destroying each other and manipulating each other. That time is gone. This is now the time of incredible innovation, incredible expansion, technology beyond our wildest dreams, you know, spiritual abilities beyond our wildest dreams, the formation of things coming together, you know, the golden age, you know, the age of information, the silicon age, the age of the quantum chip. We live in the most incredible times, and you have these companies here like Mitsubishi and Fujitsu, Denso, and a numerous list of high-tech Japanese companies that are essentially developing some of the most cutting-edge technology. You know, solid-state batteries, really lifelike robotics. You know, beautiful robots, beautiful cars. You know, holograms. You know, the list just goes on and on. Really cool high-tech stuff. Japan is one of the countries in the world where this innovation is being focused, it's being centered. It's not a normal language. It's actually a very spiritual language. You know, because it's taking words and concepts and cultural consciousness from some of the deepest regions of the world, like India, China, Korea, native Japan, infusing it into this like unique language, one of the highest vibrating languages in this world. You think what that does to the consciousness of people and to the environment, nature herself, because she responds when we speak positively, right? The earth responds positively. The water, it vibrates when we speak with intent, with kindness, with power. Numerous things that just absolutely fascinating. And you know, I'm living alone here. That's why I'm using these videos as like an outlet, just to express myself, you know, just to communicate with people all around the world, and hear a little about my life and kind of how I see things and what I go through. But like my core intent, my core mission being here is to like help the world. That's what I want to do. I want to help the world because my perception has become very sharp over the last few years. You know, I did a lot of meditation growing up, and I perceived and investigated into all of the things that I didn't fully understand, and everything came clearly to my consciousness, you know, through the power of my silence. The more I became silent, the more I felt pressure building around me, like pressure to like help me convey something to the rest of the world. I got into car crashes, I had people trying to end my life, I had some really difficult, dark situations happen over the last few years, which I'm not going to get into. But these situations put me on the edge, you know? Put me on the edge where I was there, under the heavens, talking to myself and reflecting on like, what is actually going to happen to this world? Because all I saw was degradation and like depravity, you know, poverty, sadness, depression all around me. Friends, no longer friends. Some people no longer with us. Unfortunately, many things happening in the world all simultaneously that I perceived deeply and felt deeply. There were times that I like genuinely tried to suppress that depth of perception or feeling, and that's where I realized I have to move. I have to come to a country that at least can accommodate and appreciate depth of spirituality, the pursuit of disciplines. And you have practically everything here. The only thing that I personally feel someone would really need would be like a car or a bike and money, because these three things really help you get around in this country, help you to get to those difficult to reach places, those unique places where public transport just becomes too expensive and too out of the way and too unreliable. And with money you can afford the education, you can afford good food, you can afford networking with people, joining like a dojo or like a martial art type of place, or like a language school, or like a university course, or starting a degree here, or I don't know what it is, but there's different opportunities that open up in Japan once you have money. Let's say you've worked for 2 or 3 years, you've saved up like 100k, 150k, you can come here and you can set up a life. It's 100% possible. But the internet and the news doesn't want you to do that, it seems, because it's too good. To come down here, you can buy this for $1. Public transport works. The cities are beautiful. Everyone is generally well behaved, respectful. People are kind. Obviously people are busy, they have their own lives, but for the most part, inevitably you can make friends if you try. You can contribute to this country if you truly, sincerely believe that you can. Survive the pressure, survive the tests, because you will be tested. Because Japan's societal structures are based upon rigorous training, rigorous testing. You have to train yourself, especially as a gaijin, especially as someone who's from the outside. You have to come to this country and you have to respect the process, the shugyo, the real deep discipline, the hard work. You have to really put in the time, put in the work, and don't expect it. Japan is different. People won't necessarily physically hurt you, but spiritually there's an atmosphere that you have to be careful with, right? Because there are spirits here, right? There are consciousnesses, there's layers of history all interconnecting with different places. And the people here, they have deep characters. I think Japanese people, they're naturally very gifted with reading. They can read you like a disc, They can sense if you have a sincere heart. And if you develop that sincerity, you dedicate your life to being a harmonious, hardworking, industrious individual, you become resourceful. You become a positive router of energy that people can feel. You have to learn how to adapt. You gotta learn how to be humble. 9 times out of 10, you come to Japan not because you want to live a comfortable life, but it's because you want to integrate with the spirit of machinery, industry, innovation, discipline, and there's many different categories, different groups depending on what kind of person you are. You know, some people, they're into fashion, they're into aesthetics, design, carpentry, building houses. Other people are like really into gaming, 3D design, visual artists. There are people who are like really scientific, study and learn the science of emerging technology, how to develop and synthesize it for whatever solution or purpose it might serve in the world. Believe me, Japan has a place for these different types of industries. And I think that the one major thing you have to learn is Japanese. Find a really solid environment where you can study Japanese seriously for like 3 or 4 years. And then at the end of that, you're a lot more likely to smoothly integrate with different communities, different clubs, different gatherings of people, things of that nature. You know, it's a process. So like you shouldn't expect quick results. You shouldn't come here being like, oh, you know, I expected everyone to be friendly and they're not, and all this stuff. Like, of course, the Japanese, they function off resonance. There's a lot of people who come to Japan, they live like tourists, they act like tourists. Japanese people, they tend to value and appreciate like modesty, cleanliness, you know, calm, professional appearance, someone who's composed and friendly and humble, not someone who's like flashy and trying to be cool, trying to be all like you know, this dude or that girl. Then again, in saying all of that, it's not necessarily true in every case, because like I said, Japan is a very like multifaceted. There's different neighborhoods, there's different people, there's different places and different times, different occasions for different people. If you're considering coming to Japan, if I could boil it down, is don't make it all about yourself. Because the ultimate spirit in Japan, being considerate to others, being conscious and caring towards others, that omotenashi spirit, that spirit in a mother, you know, or like a wise teacher, is something that is like, I believe, quite Japanese. Like if you look beyond all of the difficult and violent episodes of history, the underlying dimension of Japanese harmony in society is harmony between the higher and the lower, the senpai and the koukai, right? Woman and man. These different are magnetic here. I'm not sure how to describe it, but that's what the energy feels like in a lot of places. There's this distinct charm and harmony between things. There's even a very distinctive crystal that grows in Japan that is almost found exclusively within Japan, that grows like a very thin tablet, and it grows in like the shape of a heart. Like, it's just fascinating, this kind of heart-shaped crystallization. When you look at the care, the love, the detail, the real concentrated care that's put into the building of things, the trees, how they're trimmed, how the advertisements and the lights are all arranged around, and all the small little things that you see walking down the street. There's a sense of love. You know, they describe it kawaii, or like this charm, this magnetism, this harmony between things. And it's fascinating because